Welcome back to the Real Couchwives Podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo. This week, we're talking about Vanderpump Rules. Surprise, surprise.
We have finally made it to the season finale, the same season finale that Lala has been telling us all season long that all would be revealed. We were going to understand where her and Scheana had been coming from. And after watching, one thing is clear, and that's that we have to talk about Lala.
We do. It really feels like it's boiled down to this point that she's filled with hypocrisy, she's self-producing, and she has this unexplained anger towards Ariana. And like us, the audience, we
Yes.
are feeling very upset about it, I think.
And all of those things were kind of present in that ending monologue. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about those three issues that have just kind of kept us from being able to back Lala this season. So we're going to start at the end of the finale with this huge monologue that comes about to set the context here. Basically, we're in San Francisco. It's the last event. Ariana's talking to Scheana, and Sandoval swoops in to come be like, "Oh, hey, Ariana, one thing."
Let me just talk to you for 1 second.
Yeah, and this is the moment. This is the moment that the season has been boiling up to, apparently, or at least they were trying to get it to boil up to. Ariana is like, "Nope, saw that coming from a mile away. I am not going to be a cog in your Tom Sandoval redemption machine,"
Mhm.
which was an amazing line on her
Incredible.
end. So she leaves. She doesn't have the scene with Sandoval. Sandoval throws his 1500th adult tantrum, tells
Yeah.
everyone that Ariana hates them all and she doesn't even like them. And this has propelled Lala into such a rage that she basically goes on to this like fourth wall breaking
Hmm.
monologue rant vent. I don't even know really what to call it. And there's like
No.
really like crazy music going on. And like they're really setting this as like the ultimate ending of the season.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's just it. Like, yeah, we have this kind of like big, like fourth wall breaking, so to speak. But the thing about a fourth wall breaking is that it can't be pre-planned. And this very much felt like it was like this pre-planned, like, oh, we're gonna break the fourth wall moment. And it
Yeah.
like that's not how this works, unfortunately. Like it really fell flat.
It felt really set up too, right? Because like Lala was like, I have to say something, like I have a point of
Hmm.
view, and she was kind of
Hmm.
hesitant. And Sandoval's like, oh, you're scared. And I
Hmm.
really feel like that was a cue, right? Like I feel like
Hmm.
this was played out. And then she's like, I'm not scared, it's because I'm gonna break the fourth wall. And she's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna lay it out for you. Not gonna say it verbatim, but essentially what she said is, this happened to Ariana, the world rallied
Hmm.
around her, and now she thinks she's Beyonce, apparently.
Hmm.
And she thinks it's BS that she won't film with Sandoval, even though she lives down the hall from Sandoval, or which
Why is
okay,
it
we'll talk about how I'm
like
frustrated by
what?
that.
Yeah.
But then like the really big part here is that she basically calls out Ariana for not being real and kind of for ruining the show. Like
Hmm.
basically she's saying, we sign up to be on this show and we have to have tough conversations and we have to be real and you're not being real. And
Yeah.
this is the thing I want to break down first as like the first kind of point of hypocrisy here, being that
Hmm.
them having a conversation would be the least real thing that one could do.
Literally so inauthentic. That's just it. Like the moment of Ariana like leaving the after party, leaving the Kyle Chan's like whiskey whatever. That felt like such a real moment. Like we were actually seeing her being like, "Yeah, nope, this isn't happening. I'm leaving." And how many seasons of Housewives have we seen end exactly like that? Like that is a very normal thing for us to see somebody kind of like storm off. She didn't even storm off. She was just like quietly was like, "No, I'm good. I'm done. Here's my battery pack. I'm done. I'm leaving."
I think
Yeah.
that's why they were so mad though, because she very much
Hmm.
like she didn't let it rattle her. She
Yeah.
very much was like just she was like the gray rock, like she
Yeah,
wasn't giving like
exactly.
she didn't blow up. She
Yes.
didn't give this big kind of like reaction
Hmm.
that I think everyone wanted. And it's like she actually, her and Katie have been the most authentic this entire
Hmm.
season. Like
Yes.
Ariana sticking to her boundaries has been her living out her authentic life and being her
Hmm.
authentic self. And like she has not once wavered in that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And that's just it. Like, I think the problem is it's weird that Lala thinks the only way for Ariana to be authentic and to be open and honest and be real is for her to have a conversation with Tom Sandoval, which is actually as you say, like the most inauthentic thing that Ariana could do. But it's also just weird because it's like then mixed with the fact that like Lala, Scheana, Brock, Tom Schwartz, whatever, all these people, James Kennedy, have had conversations with Tom Sandoval, and we've complained all season that it feels so fake. It feels so fake for Lala to be going over to meet Tom Sandoval after his
Yeah.
scream therapy session and be like, "Hey, I don't want to hold you against your past. I don't want you to hold my past against me. Like, let's be friends. Let's get over it. Let's kumbaya."
Well,
Like, that's
yeah.
the inauthentic part here.
But I think that's the biggest part of the hypocrisy of this kind of like rant is it's really rich coming from her. And also, of course, Scheana co-signs it, Tom Sandoval co-signs it. And like
Hmm.
all of these people have been kind of self-producing this entire season. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people online are also talking about how it feels just so heavy-handed on the production side. Like it
Yeah.
just feels very forced. It feels like the least authentic season of Vanderpump Rules.
Hmm.
And it's just so crazy that they're not seeing that that's what's making
What's
this
ruining
this
it?
yeah, like
Yeah.
that's what's ruining this season
Yeah.
is actually all these forced conversations. It's not the
Yeah.
fact that Ariana doesn't want to film one-on-one with Tom Sandoval,
Yeah.
which also she did film one-on-one with Tom Sandoval right after this happened when she was the most
Hmm.
raw. And then
Yeah.
she also had to go and sit through the reunion, and that was like
Yeah.
so traumatic for her. Not to mention Lala and Scheana and well, mainly Lala and Scheana, like they also were all in at that point and they cashed in
Hmm.
on this and they made
Hmm.
merch and they went in on all of it. So for them just to like, it's
I
just,
know.
I can't.
I know. I know. Well, and that's just it, right? Like the most authentic experience that we got of Vanderpump Rules did happen at the finale of last season when we like literally see like Ariana like barefaced like 2, 3 days into her breakup, like having that sit down conversation. Like we did get the most like raw material, I want to say, from her, from Scheana that episode, like just in general. Like we were like blown away by that, right? But then as you say, like this season, part of it's like, okay, the audience is over Scandival, so we can't talk about Scandival anymore. So why do you then want to make this season kind of be a repeat of the finale that you saw last season? But also,
That's
I'm
true.
sorry, I feel like there's like so many things running through my brain here right now. But also it's like, but we have seen like Ariana blow up at Tom Sandoval like multiple times throughout the season as well. And if that's what you want to happen now, because I'm assuming that's what you want to happen right now,
I think
is
so.
like it's like, okay, so are you annoyed at her about her like female rage, or are you annoyed at her because she won't have a sit down conversation with Tom Sandoval? Like what's
That's
what's happening here? Like what
That's
do you
such
actually
a
want
good
from her?
point. And
You
that's another
literally can't
point that's
win.
like so much hypocrisy is that I feel like the only two scenes this season that we got Ariana quote unquote angry or
Hmm.
right,
Yeah.
they were all like, "Oh my gosh, like like you really have to get that in check. Like you are not okay. Like why like
Yeah.
you need to
Why are
move
you
on."
you're the one that killed your dog. What? Why are you so upset, Ariana?
Yeah, you disgusting lazy slob.
Exactly. Did
Like
you not do a garbage bag commercial? Don't you know what garbage bags work?
yeah, so it's like I feel like they're both saying that it's not okay for her to have those emotions, that it's not safe and like she
Hmm.
not safe, like it's not good for her
Yeah,
mental
but
health
it's
and
not
they
good for
don't
her.
it's
Exactly.
not good
Yeah.
for her. But then they're simultaneously trying to set her up in a
Hmm.
situation and basically
Yeah.
provoking her to
Yeah.
yell and scream because like let's be honest, nothing good is going to come with this conversation of Tom Sandoval. This is the other thing
No.
too is like you guys have spoken to this man all season and everyone has done everything they possibly can to redeem him and he's
Hmm.
just not taking any of the bait. Like
Yeah.
the only person that this scene would benefit would be Tom.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
also don't understand why Lala is so outraged that Ariana won't film other
Hmm.
than her and Scheana have been, helping producers set up this storyline, and
Yeah.
Ariana won't take the bait. And this is the ending scene that they need to finish the redemption arc. That's
Yeah.
the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. But then it's also like, but why are you like why are you as Lala like upset at Ariana for how she's kind of like forced the storyline in this direction? She isn't like giving you what she needs when actually Tom Sandoval is the like he is the real enemy in all of this. He is the reason that you guys are having this like horrible backwards season where like fans are reacting so horribly and like we're not into it. Like he's the problem. It's not Ariana that's the problem. Like I don't understand why you think that she's the issue. And then I guess it does kind of come back to like, okay, is it the hypocrisy? Is it the like anger? Is it the jealousy? Like what's driving our like Lala's actual feelings behind Ariana?
Well, that's just it. And like we want to have, there's these three issues that we're having, but they are very much intertwined, right? And you
Hmm.
actually don't know what's fueling what. Like, is it
Yeah.
hypocrisy? Is it self-producing?
Yeah.
Does she actually really have this much anger or jealousy towards Ariana, or is she playing into that to self-produce because
Yeah.
that's what production told them to do? I don't know. And I think that's also a lot of why fans are so confused because like we just like we're being forced to watch this like fake storyline and it's
Yeah.
being shoved down our throats and
Yeah.
we don't understand the actions and the words that a lot of the cast is saying and they're really
Hmm.
doubling down on it and we're just like
Yeah.
that and then when you also add in the whiplash of like everyone rallying around Ariana last season and now all of a
Hmm.
sudden she is enemy number one, it's just like
Yeah.
what has happened?
Yeah. And that's just it. Like I think that like Lala and production has undermined like the fan base and they've undermined kind of like our intelligence or whatever, right? Like we are now very well versed in all of this. We can like sniff out a plot line like a mile away. Like
Yeah, we've seen enough
we
Beverly
don't
Hills gone wrong.
exactly. We've seen enough forced redemption arcs. We've seen enough other stuff. Like this is not something that's brand new to us. We're very well versed. They should know at this point that like this is who we are. And instead Lala's choosing to portray us as like, rabid animals that need rabies shots and stuff, right? Like it's so insulting.
Well, well, this is it too, right? And it's like Lala has been going off on like lives or on her podcast, basically just like insulting the audience who questions her. And,
Hmm.
like, yes, of course, like if there are people who are giving her like threats or being like, some people are
Yeah.
really horrible
Yeah,
and
that's not
mean, and like these are
necessary.
real people, we're
100%.
trying to just come at it from a perspective of like critiquing or like, just like kind of trying to understand where they're coming from. And I think you
Hmm.
can question people like that you're on a reality TV show like that you want
Yeah.
people to talk about it. And she's even said, I love that you're talking about it. This is great.
Hmm.
But then she kind of turns around and she's like, oh, all those people who are saying anything against me, like you're all dumb, like you need
Hmm.
rabies shots,
You're
like
idiots. Yeah, exactly.
like you're trolls. And it's like there are internet
Hmm.
trolls, but like the fans are also who bought your merch and
Yeah,
like who
exactly.
helped you
That's just
like
it. I am so glad I didn't buy that and send it to Daryl t-shirt that I really wanted to get. I was like, oh, I'm tempted. It just didn't
yeah,
happen. Thank
it's
God. I don't know.
it's
Yeah.
just it's so crazy and the self-producing part is I think the most
Yeah, the
frustrating too
hardest.
because they're like
Yeah.
I feel like they really this is actually the most confusing part is like how detached from reality Lala and Scheana and Sandoval and all of them have to be to think that we were going to change our minds after seeing this moment because it
Yeah.
wasn't anything that we didn't already know.
Hmm.
And like they're like, I'm breaking the fourth wall. Like they made it
Yeah.
seem so intense and like we were going to
Yeah.
learn something that we didn't know. But it's like, well, if anything,
Oh.
you just showed me that I feel like you're really angry at Ariana and you
Yeah.
actually hate her and your mask has slipped off pretending that you don't this whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Meanwhile, like Sandoval is the person that like in that moment, he's the one that like flipped from being like okay, I'm gonna play it as like I'm coming in cool, calm, collected. I just want to have a conversation. I just want to have a deep talk. I want to be able to like have a little heart to heart here with Ariana. And then like instantly, as soon as he was like denied access to her, he's like, no, you know what? F this, like F her. She hates all of you guys. Like as you say, the throwing the temper tantrum as like a 42-year-old man. And like not like it's just like the juxtaposition of his like egos, right? Like from like one to the other, and like just the way that he can like flip from between those two personalities like so
Yeah.
quickly, and as if like he's not the problem, Ariana's the problem. Like,
It's also just so crazy that it's like, yeah, he literally, his mask slipped off too. Everyone's
yeah,
mask slipped off in
everybody,
this
yeah.
episode. Like, he's literally like, I just want to tell Ariana I'm sorry. Like, I just want to have a real conversation with
Hmm.
her. Like,
Yeah,
tail between my legs. Then she
yeah.
leaves. And then he literally flips and she's like, she
Yeah.
hates all of you.
She hates
She's
all of
the
you guys.
worst. And
Yeah.
and then they see this and they're like,
Yeah.
this is the man that you're
This
trying to
is the
make her
guy.
speak to.
This
This
is the
is the
guy.
interaction that you think is gonna end
Yeah.
well and
Exactly.
or have be good television or whatever
Yeah.
you think it is. Like,
This is the person that she should engage with, right? Like that she should give any time of day to because for some reason, so some magical, mystical reason that you think is going to save the show. Like unthinkable. I don't understand.
it's so incredibly confusing. And I do actually
Yeah.
want to kind of drill down onto some of the things that Lala had said. I know we're kind of
Hmm.
all over the place. There's just so many
It's hard
thoughts.
to not.
Um, so after she says her line that we saw in the trailer, that I've
Hmm.
never in my life experienced someone get cheated on and suddenly becomes God.
Hmm.
Also, I think in Watch What Happens Live, when Lala was asked about this, she's like, "Oh, it's
Yeah.
taken out of context as well." Like,
Yeah.
that was like full,
Mm,
like that came out of literally nowhere. Like
yeah.
you've been holding on to that the whole season,
Literally, you've been rehearsing it in your mirror all season long.
and like production's like, let's get the music. It's gonna
Hmm.
swell. This is our
Yeah.
like big
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
And then you cut to the confessional, and now we go
Hmm.
to the sad music.
Hmm.
And now Lala's like, I love filming the show because it's real. And then again, she's like, for Ariana to walk out this way is a slap in the face. This is what we do. We've been doing this for most of our adult lives. I have to say, the montage that they put of all of them when they were basically babies, like
Yeah.
doing their confessionals,
Yeah.
that hit. Like that
I
made me
know.
emotional.
I know. That was like legitimately very good. That was amazing. I think they did an incredible job with that.
And I understand why it's giving series finale. I
Mm,
don't think that it is because like I feel like
no.
Lisa for sure would have been there, and also like yeah, I don't think so.
The ratings are too good. Like even though they're slipping, they're still too good to cancel it after this. Like if they were going to cancel it, they were going to cancel it in season 9.
You know what
Like
I wonder if it was? I wonder if it was like they're seeing the fan reaction of the season and they're like
mm.
shoving the nostalgia. Like, remember why you like this
Maybe,
show? Because
maybe.
they throw back to Kristen, throw back to Jax, they throw back to
Yeah.
Stassi, and like all of these
Yeah.
like really crazy moments. Then what Lala says is there's a responsibility that comes with living your life on camera. You have to be truthful even when it's uncomfortable. And she says that she basically thinks, she lives her life truthfully and James lives their life truthfully and Scheana lives her life truthfully.
Yeah.
She does say at 1 second there was a time that I wasn't truthful and it was
Mhm.
suffocating. And this is a second part of the hypocrisy, just to like loop back to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, it's not that there was a time that you weren't truthful on the show. It was almost your
Yeah.
entire run on the
There was a
show.
good like 4 season stretch, I would argue, where you
Like
weren't like maybe 5 season stretch where you weren't 100% accurate.
like she wouldn't even say who Randall was. It was just her
Yeah.
man. And I think before
Yeah.
that she didn't even say that she had a boyfriend and they were all like,
No.
you're dating a married man. She's like, "No. I know there's all
Mhm.
these things that are wrapped up in it and all these things, but it's like I saw someone online was like, first you couldn't talk about Randall and
Yeah.
then Randall came on and he played pickleball and now you're going through, this really bad custody battle, so you can't talk about your
Yeah,
home life. And
Randall and your
that
headlock. Yeah.
part is out of her control. But it's
Yeah.
like, what is the part that you're talking about of the
Of you like living your truth.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. That's just it. Like I feel like we went through like huge stretches of time. Like I think that like most of season 5, Lala didn't even really show up to, right? Like it feels like there
She
was like
quit Sir at one point.
like there was big chunks of time when we didn't have Lala. And like there's just been she's always been quite picky and choosy about like what information she shared. She's been very picky and choosy about kind of like the version of herself that she shared. Like, the fact that she kind of like portrayed herself as like this like I don't want to say gangster, but she was kind of like she was like playing it up as if she was like from the mean streets of LA when she was like Lauren from Utah, which is what everybody's calling her now.
LFU.
Is that what it is? I love that. I didn't know
To be
that.
honest, some of the names are like they're getting really intense.
Like somebody just called her Utah the other
I've seen
day.
a Utah, I've seen LFU, and I've seen
Yeah.
blah blah, which I'm like,
Oh,
it's
interesting. All
okay.
right.
Like we're
It's like when Scum Devil started becoming what people
yeah,
would call Sandoval.
there's just
It's kind of
yeah,
intense.
people are created. But anyways, every time
Yeah,
I read
but
blah blah,
yeah.
I'm like, it feels weird.
What?
Like let's go.
I think that's fair. I think
I
that's fair.
digress.
That is weird. But yeah, but that's just it, right? Like we've seen like a very curated version of who Lala is, the persona that she's created for the show. Like we don't really fully know kind of like the truth of like Lala versus Lauren, like who this person is. Like the line is very kind of like blurred of like the portrayal of herself that she's given us. And especially in those like early seasons, like yeah, she was very much kind of like selling one version of herself, which I think makes sense. You're in your like early mid 20s, you're like not 100% sure of who you are, but then she comes back a few seasons later when she's broken up with Randall and she's like, I didn't know. I had no idea that the casting coach was a thing. I had no idea that this is what it was like,
Yeah.
I was completely bamboozled by this man and it's like, okay, so you were either playing smart and now you're playing stupid or like what's happening here? You can't be both of those things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like I think the issue that we're having with Lala too is that like your your portrayal of yourself is now kind of like very in contrast to kind of like who you're portraying Ariana to be, right? Like yeah, just like the inauthenticity of you versus you now calling out Ariana for being inauthentic when I think Ariana's always been very vulnerable.
Yeah, it's very much giving like throwing rocks like when you live in a glass house, but
Yeah.
not even because I think what she's trying to say about Ariana isn't true. Like saying that, she had one moment of honesty, which was I guess
Hmm.
when they filmed right after the breakup and then she
Right.
packed it all away.
Yeah.
We have seen Ariana be really vulnerable in this
Hmm.
show.
Yeah.
I feel like, has shared stuff about her mental health, about
Hmm.
her,
Her
like
body
in her body
issues.
issues, her intimacy
Yeah.
issues, like
Yeah.
all of
Her
these different
ex.
things
Yeah.
just because maybe she's never been the explosive type. Like people still
Hmm.
liked her because I feel like she was relatable. And there's
Hmm.
different types of reality stars that we like. And like
Yeah.
you do, like it can't all be the
Yeah.
explosive, crazy pot stirring ones. And it
Yeah.
doesn't make her a bad reality star.
No, that's just it. You can't all be Nene Leakes. You can't all be Bethany Frankel. You can't all be
Stassi.
Ramona Singer. You can't all be Stassi
Actually, I don't want to
Schroeder.
put Stassi in that. Like,
No, but that's just it, right? Like you can't all be like the big personalities. You can't all be
Mhm.
Catherine Dennis, right? Like you
Yeah.
all there has to be a balance of the different characters that you're seeing on any given reality TV show. And Ariana has kind of like she hasn't always been a fan favorite, that's for sure. She's actually kind of I think for a long time she wasn't a fan favorite. But I think that she's always kind of just like brought herself as she was to the show. And I think that, to my point earlier, like I don't think Lala's just kind of like brought herself as she was to the show. She's brought a version of herself to the show to portray to us.
Yeah.
And it worked, right? Like it made like it between the fact that like her and Faith both started as about like, B cast members in their season 4. Lala ended up being the one that got the like contract and like stayed this entire time. So
That
like
is
it worked
true.
it worked for her for a time, but we're now at a point where it's like not working for her anymore, basically. It's or a version of it's working for her, I guess, right? Like, hey,
I'm
we're talking an entire episode about her. That's got to
that's
mean something.
that's true, but it's more just like we're talking about her just kind of like getting involved in other people's drama and then getting
Yeah.
angry about it and making it her storyline.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what she's
Which is which
bringing.
is which is the Lisa Rinna of it all, right? It's you bring nothing, you just go get in that mess and then you get out of there
And
like
like everyone else has to
nothing
be
else.
vulnerable and open and say it how and
And
like but
own it.
own
Own
it. But if
it.
someone like God forbid anyone says anything to you,
Yeah.
and I think one of the things that sucks too is like there are moments that she's had that we were like, yes, like when she
Hmm.
was on the boat and she was talking to Sandoval and
Yeah.
saying how he grooms women, he
Hmm.
isolates women, like she was
Yeah.
calling it like it is. And I think just again to go back to the hypocrisy moment, like for us to have that scene and then like the rest of the season, she's turning around and trying to be
Yeah.
friends with him. Like, why
Yeah.
are you trying to be friends with him? You literally compared him to Randall last
Yeah.
year.
Last season. Exactly. No, I know that's just it. It makes no sense. And that's like, it's the hypocrisy, it's the self-producing, it's the inauthenticity. Like, it's so many things that are contributing to us being like, at this point, being like, I'm just baffled. Like, I have no idea what's going on here.
And like, not to mention, this has been said by a lot of people, but like, could you imagine Randall was coming into film and had to film with anyone. Literally, she cut him off.
Literally.
She cut off Schwartz for playing pickleball with him. And we
Hmm.
defended her in that. Like, I understood that
Yeah.
move. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying that she wasn't right in doing that, but it's like, how
Yeah.
could you not give Ariana that same grace?
Yeah. And that's just it. And for her to think that the only reason that it's different is because Ariana still lived in that house, and thus because Ariana chose to still live in the house with Tom Sandoval, she has no right to complain about any of this is just like what is your like that house is huge. I'm sorry. If you had to be stuck in a house with your ex, that's a very big house to be stuck in your like if they were living in their one bedroom apartment, it'd be a different story.
Right.
But like they're not. They're living in a massive, like at least 1,000, 2,000 square foot house. Like
And
it's
we have
big.
we have vented about this house situation in pretty much every Vanderpump Rules episode. So, if you want to
We'll go
check
into
any of those
it.
out, but like, yeah, the fact that the main sticking point her and Scheana and so many people come up with is the
Can't
whole
get
house thing
over
is
is
like
the house.
it's been debunked now. We now know
Yeah.
why Ariana was staying. It was so that she didn't get screwed over by Tom, so that she got
Hmm.
what was fair. We
Hmm.
understand this. How are we still being like, you won't film with him, but you sleep down the hall from him?
Yeah.
We know why she's there. This is
Yeah.
not like they think that they're calling her out in her hypocrisy, but if anything, they're just
Hmm.
showing their own.
Yeah.
It's the Spider-Man pointing meme. When you point
Ah.
a finger, you have two, no, three
Two,
pointing
three
back at
pointing back
you.
at you. What? Oh. Oh my God. At least two in this case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last thing, and I think to me it's one of the more frustrating things is
Yeah.
Scheana. Scheana too, but
Lala's. Yeah,
Lala's
Sheena's too.
just like kind of inexplicable anger towards Ariana that has
Yeah.
come out at certain points during the season. I think it's made even
Hmm.
worse when like to her face she's like always there for her and like
Yeah.
this clearly
a
came as such
hundred
a shock.
percent. Oh my
So
God. The fact
another
that she was
hypocrite moment.
literally another hypocrite moment. The fact that her and Scheana were at like the opening night of Chicago, like while like the first few episodes were airing, like it just blows my mind. It's such the definition of like, one way to your face, another way to behind your back. And like it's just I can't believe it.
No
Like,
wonder these friendships have blown up. And to be honest, this part is a lot worse on Scheana because she's supposed to be
yeah.
Ariana's best friend.
Yeah.
Lala and Ariana have gone, they've been up and down. I still think
Yeah.
it's not okay.
Yeah.
But it's just like I don't understand the anger. I want to talk about a little bit of her comments from the after show, but also
Hmm.
she has been through a scenario that's not the same, but there's
Hmm.
similarities with Randall,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like she just feels so hurt that like she didn't get the same type of reception when she got
Hmm.
cheated on.
Hmm.
I guess maybe it's caused resentment, but like I'm just kind of shocked that she won't have grace towards Ariana for knowing what she's been through, and instead
Yeah.
she decides to side with Tom Sandoval, and that to me is like the worst part. It's like again, we kept being like, this could have been a girls' season. Like, why did
Hmm.
we not rally together with the girls?
Yeah.
There's a production conversation we had there, but
Yeah. Well, but also like, okay, yeah, 100% I agree with that. But at the same time, like, okay, if you are gonna spend all this time like talking smack about Ariana and like being really annoyed with her, then just do it to her face, right? Like that's what
say it
old
with your
school
full chest,
see,
B,
right?
as Katie would
Literally.
say.
That's literally what like Vanderpump Rules used to be. Like the level of fighting that we used to get from this crowd, like just have that happen, right? Like don't have this weird fake kind of like kumbaya as the second time I said that now. Like episode like a season, right? Where like you're pretending to be getting along with her and sympathizing with her and like crying with her and whatever when you actually are really annoyed with her. Like just tell her that you're annoyed with her. That would be such a more interesting season than what we've gotten here. And I don't know why you think that it's like Ariana's job to like carry the season when like you could have done that too, right? Like you played a role in not contributing anything to this season other than like snide comments behind Ariana's back and for
Yeah.
some reason supporting Tom Sandoval. Like,
Well, this is it. Like, why? Fine. We've talked about this before. I hate the Tom Sandoval redemption arc. I hate it
mhm,
with a
mhm,
passion. But why did
mhm.
we also have to get the trying to villainize Ariana arc? Why
Yeah,
was that a thing that had to
yeah,
happen? I
yeah.
really don't get it. Lala's made some really rude comments. about her that like basically this season had hinged on someone who, never did anything from the show. On the after show,
Mhm.
she's like, no one ever cared about Ariana. They were super indifferent to her. And now, like, what she says goes. At one point, she says straight up she's a bad friend and she's not a good person to ask you who you are or to like check if you're breathing.
Yeah, like what? Well, okay, all right. So I'll decouple those a little bit. First, the fan reaction to Ariana is like it's very specific because we have actually seen Ariana like grow and change over the years, right? Like I wasn't a big Ariana fan in the beginning. I kind of felt like she was a little bit misogynistic. I felt she was a little like, she was always kind of like with the guys, hating the women. Like there was a lot of like tension there. But I think that she's like grown and changed and evolved over the years. And I think that like I've enjoyed kind of like watching her on that journey. And that's why the fans are now kind of like having this good reaction to her because we've actually like have seen her like grow and change
Yeah.
and like can now identify with her and whatever. She's been open and honest,
That
all that good stuff.
that's fair
Like,
too. Also about the co-signing, like
yeah.
yes, it is true. I think she co-signed a lot of what Tom did, and
Hmm.
that's a fair point for sure.
Yeah.
But also,
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry. So Brittany and Jax are now separated. Brittany has been co-signing Jax up until literally the Valley
She's
episodes.
still doing
And
it.
but
She's in that after show with Lala and she is still co-signing his bad behavior.
But do
It's
you think
unacceptable.
any of them are going to be like, oh, Brittany co-signed Jax's bad behavior? No, they're like, oh my God, poor Brittany. She
I
was like, oh God, how
know.
hard it is to be
It's so hard to
willingly
be
married
in a
to
relationship
Jax.
with Jax Taylor. Yeah, exactly. 100%. And that's just it. If anything, they're like annoyed with like Stassi for the fact that like she's like, or Katie, I guess. Katie for some reason more than Stassi probably, that like Katie's upset at Brittany on Stassi's behalf. It's like a
Yeah.
whole thing. It's ridiculous. Um, but yeah, I don't remember what my other point was, but the first one at least I got out there.
Yeah, I don't understand the just anger that it
Hmm.
feels like it's coming off of her.
Yeah.
Scheana too, for sure. Or Scheana feels less anger and definitely feels more jealousy.
Yeah.
Lala's is giving jealous as well. I don't understand it. Like I definitely get there's a part of you, like, especially if things are going one way in your life and you're seeing someone else just have such a different response to something than you've experienced. Like I
Yeah.
understand that. Or even like with Scheana being like, oh, like, I really wanted Dancing with the Stars and then Ariana got Dancing with the Stars. Like
Yeah.
you're allowed to feel bad that
Yeah.
you
You didn't
you
get.
wish you could have gotten that opportunity, but like
Totally.
but I feel like they're just taking that and then being like, well, you're just like a horrible friend and you're
Yeah.
boring and this season sucks because of you. And it's
Yeah.
just like,
Well, yeah, that's just it, right? Like there's such a like emphasis from them all that like they're an ensemble cast and because they're an ensemble cast, they all need to like contribute and pitch in and like do the work or whatever. And like just the fact that like obviously I guess they don't see Ariana as much kind of like doing the work that like needs to be done to like make this whole thing whatever. And I kind of worry that like maybe they're being like led astray by like production telling them that like this isn't working. But yeah, like I don't understand why that like there's this harping on like we're an ensemble cast, we all have to work together, we all have to film together. When Ariana did film with Tom Sandoval this season, like everybody made it sound like Ariana didn't even see Tom Sandoval this summer, and they actually spent so much time in the exact same room. They almost died on a boat together this season. Like
but
a lot happened.
it's so true. And also like yeah, like she filmed the group scenes with him. She said she wouldn't do one-on-one scenes with him, which like she
That's totally
doesn't
fair.
need to.
Like,
It's not
yeah.
going to give us anything more than what we've already seen.
Yeah, we also don't want her to do one-on-one scenes with him, right? Though, like, I don't think, like, I didn't feel like I was missing that from this season. I don't feel like walked away
No.
from this season thinking, oh my God, I can't believe we didn't get a one-on-one. I feel so cheated from Bravo that I didn't get a one-on-one Ariana Tom Sandoval scene when we literally, as you say, got that at the end of last season. Like, that was the ultimate one-on-one scene between Tom Sandoval and Ariana.
It
Like, we really
was.
don't need it again.
And she told him, any last words before I never speak to you again. Like she was
Exactly.
very,
She was being accurate. And then when she did talk to him this season, he was like saying awful things to her, like disparaging comments, like
that's
little snide
so
remarks.
true.
And like they were just like fighting and going at it with one another. Like, I don't understand. And I also just don't understand why it's her fault that he broke this. He broke this. He broke the relationship. He broke the friend group dynamic. He has put this cast in the position that they are in right now. Like,
100%.
I'm sure he's part of the reason why Rachel didn't return. Like, this season could have been so different. And he did this. He gave the product. Well, I guess maybe production also was a little responsible, right? Production gave him the redemption arc, and it totally flopped. And he's more responsible for that than Ariana is. Ariana is not responsible for the fact that we like all hated sitting through his redemption arc.
But that's it. And I feel like but Lala is gonna take this as like, well, this season was centered around Ariana and that's why it
Yeah.
sucked. And it's like
Yeah.
that is
Ariana's
so
never brought
funny.
anything to the table in her entire life. Like, come
Like
on.
it's also just like even Lala has said like we know who Sandoval is. Like he's never gonna leave. He's never gonna get out of the house, which is
Yeah.
super
So he
unfair
just
to
gets
just
a
be
get her
like,
to jail free
yeah,
card. Like, come
it's like
on.
he sucks, so we know he's always gonna suck. But then
Yeah.
in the same season, be like, oh well, I think he has redeeming qualities, and like
Yeah.
Scheana is literally willing to basically piss all over her friendship with Ariana to keep the friendship with this man.
Yeah,
And then
literally. Because he buys her like a sound technician for her show.
which
Like
like
buys
fully
a
was
plane
brought in
ticket.
by
Come
like
on.
producers. I loved James's responses to all these things. He like plugged in a cord, like, oh, he's gonna be like, the sound is so crisp. James,
It's so good.
like the fact that James is the only person on this cast,
I
minus
know.
Katie, who is
I
backing
know.
Ariana at every point,
I know.
it's just like you could have done it. Like
Yeah.
there was an opportunity, and we love those moments. And
Yeah.
it's just so crazy because like if all of this was for production,
Hmm.
let's take the lens of, they had this moment, they're like, you guys gotta, have group scenes and get over this,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
This is not what we wanted. Like just
No.
like no one asked for this, and like
No.
James is going against it, and we're liking those moments.
Yeah.
And I'm just so shocked. I guess they didn't course correct after
Yeah,
seeing the
they just
fans' reactions.
completely missed the mark on this one. They had like no idea what was happening. And like it does, it really feels like they hobbled together a season with whatever they could gather, right? Like the painting night between Katie and Tori.
Oh, I
The
forgot that. I
2025.
forgot that Tori was like a thing in this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's just it. Like the whole like and Tom Schwartz like storylines, like the Billy Lee of it all, like Kyle Chan basically be like Kyle Chan was in the TV season more than Ali was in the season. Like it was more of a main character than her. It just like totally ridiculous things. And like yeah, like this season did suck. Like it was really bad and very awkward, but I don't see why Ariana's solely responsible for that. Like
And it's
she's
just
not.
because it felt so forced. Like if we could have just like waited to pick up cameras and then like
Mhm.
saw it progress like more naturally at a more natural
Yeah.
pace, like it
Yeah.
would have felt a lot less awkward.
Well, or they could have just like actually filmed it as it was unraveling, right? And as it was progressing, and they didn't have to have all these scenes where Brock decided that he needed to step in and try to reason with Ariana. Like all these scenes where like we like decided that like yeah, as you say, Tom Sandoval gets a free pass because he's a guy and he doesn't have to change because it's too late. He's a lost cause. But Ariana, she's the one that has to change, right? Like all these like little things that they were like these messages that they were sending us, like that's what ruined it here. And they
Yeah.
could have just filmed a normal season and saw what came out of it. But instead they just kind of like tried to like really force like one very particular narrative, and it was so awkward.
But you know what's so funny is they tried so hard, and I don't know if they as producers or whatever,
Hmm.
anyone involved in this
Whoever. Yeah.
catastrophe
Yeah.
tried so hard to give Tom a redemption arc,
Hmm.
and then he would go off on the podcast and all of these other things
Yeah.
like to show us he hasn't changed in real time, or
Yeah.
he would just like,
Comparing himself to George Floyd, like, come on.
oh God,
Let's not forget that.
no, let's not. Or like having a temper tantrum the second things don't go his way. So he was doing
Yeah.
this. And then at the
Yeah.
same time, they're also doing everything they can to set up Ariana to have a bad moment. And she
Hmm.
just keeps slaying. Like even when
Yeah.
Brock is like, you really should move on for yourself.
Yeah.
And then she's like, I think
I've
female
always been that.
emotions are strong, and that is
Yeah.
being strong. And like
Yeah.
I am going to therapy, and I am a gray
Hmm.
rock, and like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bend to your bullshit. Like
Yeah.
she
And
was
that's
like,
just it. Yeah, like and like oh, everybody has such a problem with female rage, but nobody has a problem with male rage. And he's like, "What's an example of male rage?" And you're like, "Oh my God, Brock.
You're like,
Oh
you,
my
sir,
God,
definitely know what that
you should
is.
know."
And then this is the other part though, because then production did in that moment put all the boys
Yeah.
yelling. And okay, so we can't talk about the finale without talking about the famous hot mic moment at the
Yes.
end
Yes.
with Mr. Tom Sandoval himself, the man that everyone is bending over backwards to
Yeah.
blow up their lives in favor of.
Working overtime for Tom Sandoval.
Yeah. So at the end, we just get a shot, basically a hot mic, so you don't even see
Mhm.
anyone. But Tom
Yeah.
Sandoval is like, well, that went great for me. I love
Yeah.
it. This is good for
Yeah.
me. And he's laughing.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my God. And that's just it. Like it feels like maybe if they had like a few more like months or something to like edit this together properly, they could have done an incredible villain arc for Tom Sandoval. And that would have been really interesting to watch. But they didn't do that. And I'm confused that they didn't do that because I have to admit, like going into this season, we naively thought no one's gonna film with Tom Sandoval. It's gonna be great.
We really did. We're
We're
like the
so excited
Toms.
to see what
This is the season
happens.
that the Toms are finally gonna get what's coming
Exactly.
to them, and the girls are gonna
Schwartz is gonna get
rally.
it. Tom Sandoval's gonna get it. We're gonna lay into them, and none of that happened. And we just couldn't believe it. Like we were robbed. We were fully robbed. Not even of the like girl power storyline. We don't need girl power storyline. We need just like hatred of the Tom storyline. That's
We'll
all we
settle
need.
for
That's all we
that.
want.
It's just
Whatever. You guys
like
don't need to be friends, but like let's just hate on the Toms.
it's so broken. It's so
Especially after what
broken.
Tom Schwartz did last season. Like he just got a free pass.
He did, and he did again here. And even here, like for
Yeah.
all of them to be like, Ariana's like, oh, also they tried to do Ariana dirty when she was talking to Scheana, and Scheana was like, oh, I'm scared to like lose you as a friend if I talk to Sandoval. And Ariana's like,
Hmm.
no, I never said that. And then they
Yeah.
show her basically
Yes.
saying that.
Saying that.
That was at the beginning, right when
Yeah.
it happened, when she
Yeah.
like we've already seen her start to even like let Schwartz back in little by little. Like like
Hmm.
this woman is slowly
Yeah.
becoming more okay with like the fact that she's gonna have mutual friends. Maybe it's even less
Yeah.
okay, more just like, I've tried everything I could and it
Hmm.
people
It's
are
not.
gonna
Yeah.
shove him down my throat. Fine, have
Yeah.
your relationship. Don't
Yeah.
bring it to me.
Don't tell me about it.
Like,
Exactly. Which I think is like totally fair and like
yeah.
fully totally like up to her. And I think that the fact that like this is like this yeah, like you say like this like flashback that we have here like is followed up by or following up like this moment between Scheana and Ariana where she's like you are my family, like you are like my best friend, you are my family, we're always going to be in each other's lives. Like that was a real thing, genuine moment for Ariana and Scheana. And like Scheana just kind of like threw this relationship away for Tom Sandoval. Like I hope it was worth it
Well,
because this is somebody that literally just said that you're my family and like you're just like, but he brought me a sound technician. Like
we also, so I didn't even have time to listen to it, but I saw something just drop of like a podcast with
yes.
Scheana and Janet
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
Valley.
Yeah.
And yeah, apparently she doesn't talk to Sandoval or Ariana very much. And now she's
Yeah.
kind of blaming production for like basically
Yes.
forcing her to have those conversations. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And yeah, and I watched it briefly like just before this and it's interesting. She's kind of thinking that next season is going to be like a fourth wall kind of like cameras down kind of like experience a little bit like the Kardashians or like apparently the D'Amelio family.
oh, but the Kardashians is the most highly curated, produced
Yes.
show.
But I think it's more about the fact that like I guess they talk about the fact
Right.
that they're on the TV show and
And
that's
I
what they're
do
thinking
like
it's
that
gonna
part of
be. Like,
it.
they'll talk about the fact that like they're like, oh, I won't film with him or I won't like it won't be like I won't have friends with him. It's that I won't film scenes with him.
Right. And
Is
they
gonna
won't
be
be
the
like, when
difference.
we saw each other in New York for
Yeah, exactly.
the reunion. I
Yeah,
love
exactly.
that.
I do love that actually. The blogs, these alleged blogs.
Um,
I love it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of fourth wall breaking, and this is such a tangent, that's actually
Yeah.
why I really liked Buying Beverly Hills this season two
Mm,
this season because they really
yeah.
talked about the impact that Beverly Hills has on the girls, like Kyle
Mm,
Richards' daughters, and also
yeah,
that you see like their relationship kind of like speculation breaking in real time.
right.
Total
Yeah.
tangent, but that was really
No.
interesting.
Yeah. No, that is cool. And that's just it. And like I guess it kind of like circles back to like what we were talking about at the beginning, right? Like, you can't say to the world, "Hey, I'm gonna break the fourth wall. Look at me breaking the fourth wall. Wow, what a great breaking the fourth wall moment." But but you can like yeah, like if it is something that you're kind of like actively talking about, like that's totally something that I can see, the direction of reality TV going in that way, right? That we do kind of want the fourth wall broken. We don't want these like highly stylized TV shows necessarily anymore in this way. Like we'll still get something quite like, stunning and whatever beautiful to look at, but we do kind of still want like something a little bit more real, more authentic. And again, this is like our big complaint of this season and with Lala in particular is the inauthenticity. And like if the only way for us to get that next season is for them to actually talk about the TV show, then they have to talk about the TV show because otherwise this does not work.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And I do think I don't know what next season can hold. I don't know what's gonna happen on the reunion. So now Lala's saying like, "Oh no, you have to watch the reunion," and
Yeah,
now
of
you'll
course.
understand.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no. One more second, guys. I think I've got this one for you. Just watch 3 more episodes, and you're gonna be on my side.
I don't know. Maybe something horrible will
Yeah.
happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like they can't make me hate this person. Like I don't know what they could
It's
do to make me do
yeah.
that. And
It's also like it's like it feels like it's like reverse psychology or something where she's like trying to get it to like get us on her side, get us on her side, and it's like nope, that just keeps on not working. Like it's not happening. Sorry. I know
she,
that you want us to hate her, but maybe because you want us to hate her, we're not hating
yeah,
her. Like yeah.
Lala did say that after she's not going to talk about VPR until the reunion comes out, and then she's not going to talk about season 11 ever again.
I mean, good luck for her, honestly. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly what she said, right? Like
About Scandival.
about Scandival. Exactly. That's what she said. She was like, I'm over talking about Scandival. And then you spent all fall, all winter talking about Scandival. So
Do you, the last
I
thing I want to say, do you know what her like monologue was kind of giving when she broke, when she's like, I have a point of view. And then she was like, she moved on 8 days later, 8 days. It really gave Real Housewives of New Jersey table flip with Teresa
the
Giudice
prostitution.
13 times or whatever.
The engagements and the
Yeah.
prostitution and the other word that I won't say on here. It was such a good moment. I loved that.
Also, oh,
That's just it.
actually,
It didn't Heather try to have like a similar in Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, try to have like a similar kind of like, oh, I'm gonna have my Lisa Barlow moment and I'm gonna have like my own like version of that kind of like happen. Or was it Heather or am
I
I
didn't
thinking of
watch that whole
Meredith?
season. I only
Oh, I'm
watched like the
sorry.
beginning and the end, so I don't
Oh, okay,
know.
sorry. I feel like somebody like tried to recreate like the Lisa Barlow like hot mic moment and it
Oh.
just like failed miserably. I'm pretty sure it was Heather. If you guys remember, let me know. But it feels like that's also what Lala was trying to do is like I'm gonna have my like Lisa Barlow like totally crazy moment that everybody's gonna memify and it's gonna be so
It
good.
did
And it's
feel a
just
little bit
like
like that too. And then Scheana
so
was like,
flat.
me too. Cause like it was so awkward. Like Lala was yelling and she was like turning to leave. And then Scheana like grabs her and she's like, I
Yeah,
back you.
I'm
And it's
backing
like,
you. It's okay.
no one asked.
Nobody needs that.
And then like you could tell Sheena was like, stop talking so I could tell my side of it. And then
Yeah, yeah.
it was just
And then
like
and then she just like broke out into tears and you're just like, what is happening?
and then
Like
Sandoval's like, ha 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 ha, my evil plan's working.
exactly. I've torn this friendship group apart, piece by piece, person by person.
I mean,
Uh,
on Watch What Happens Live, Andy asked Tom like what he thought about Lala's like monologue there, and he's like, I think
yeah,
it was great. And it's like
he's
honestly, if Tom
so
Sandoval thinks that you're doing something good, then you're doing
yeah.
something
You're
bad.
doing wrong. You're doing something wrong. You are on the wrong side of history, my friend. I am sorry.
uh,
Yeah, I know. Even in this week's after show, I feel like Lala was like once again kind of like blowing smoke up Sandoval's bum. I can't remember. Oh, it was the thing about like how he used to get them all together. He was like the connector of the group, and I was like, come on, like I'm sorry.
I don't understand. I can't believe we actually didn't touch on this
Yeah.
episode, but we have in other times, like the whole like Ariana moved on in 8 days. Like it's
Mm.
similar to the she's doing well. She has all of these
Yes.
opportunities.
Yes.
She's fine.
Yeah.
She's moved on. And it's like
Yeah.
this girl has so much trauma. She's even said she's had so much trauma. Like, sorry that she's not like dying in a hole. Like I almost feel like that's what they want her
Like,
to
that's
do.
just
Like,
it. It's literally what they want from her. That's the only thing that they'd be happy with. And even then, it would be like, oh, why are you so depressed? You're not as fun as you used to be, Ariana. Uh, I can't.
Brock.
I
We
can't.
didn't even talk about Brock this whole time, but
Uh,
he's another culprit. Anyways, we
yeah,
have
we're over
thoughts.
him. We're done.
I'm sure we're gonna, yeah. And we were like, hey, Brock's not that bad last season, and this
Yeah.
season we're like, oh my God, please
Yeah,
stop.
that's just it. Like literally in the small doses that we got him last season, it was fine, but full-time cast membership is not it for Brock. It's unacceptable.
It's truly not.
So
So that was we had a lot of thoughts. They
a lot
went
of
into a
thoughts.
lot of
So many
directions.
different directions.
Let us know how you're thinking feeling about everything.
Hmm.
I was literally filled with rage. Like
Yeah.
ew. Um
It was
th-
intense. It was intense in like the most like wah wah lackluster kind of way, right? Like it was just like wow, what a like how the mighty have fallen in terms of like season finales for Vanderpump Rules, and yet yeah, it was definitely enraging, annoying, female rage
yeah,
striking.
I'm interested to see what happens at the reunion.
Very
Um
curious.
w- oh, apparently like none of these friendships have lasted, which is pretty sad. I honestly feel
Yeah.
really sad about that.
Yeah. Well,
The
the Toms are still friends, and then
great.
the new Toms, Ariana and Katie, are still friends. So
Yes.
that's all that matters.
True,
And I
true.
guess technically Lala and Scheana are friends. Like I'm sure that they're still friends. So there's
Yeah.
three groups
So
of
there's
friends.
just factions now.
Yeah, there really is.
Well, we'll
Um,
see. We'll probably be recapping the reunions. We'll see how they
mhm.
are if we want to do one or all three.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, let
Allegedly,
us
the
know.
third one's gonna be great, so we'll see.
I've heard these things before.
Yeah, we've heard these things before. This finale was supposed to be great.
Yeah.